What is architecture? Love, art, memories, culture, climate. All of these words are associated with the meaning of architecture. What do you see in this drawing? The spaces are divided and designed for a specific goal. We prepare our meal in the kitchen, we dine in the dining area, we watch TV in the living room, etc. Architecture is creating spaces with the purpose of living and working in it. Architecture is more than just buildings. In accordance with the way that spaces are defined, architecture can be divided in 5 categories. Number 1, garden architecture. Number 2, landscape architecture. Number 3, building architecture. Number 4, interior architecture. And number 5, urban planning. So, what is garden architecture? What do we have in our garden? We have flowers, plants, trees, pets, water elements, and materials. With materials, we refer to material of the garden furniture, material of the tiles. Do you like concrete or baked tiles in your garden? And material of the fence, etc. There are different kinds of gardens: romantic gardens, oriental gardens, formal gardens, and modern gardens. Gardens are mostly associated with the building and have fixed borders. We talk about garden architecture when it comes to private gardens and small parks.
A garden design gives an overall view of how the garden will look like. Anyone with some knowledge of gardening and some knowledge of the procedures connected with gardening can design a garden. Knowledge of flowers, plants, trees, ecology, climate, draining, and pesticides are important. A landscape architect or a professional garden expert, as well as someone without a degree but with knowledge of gardening, can design a garden. We are going to discuss the next subdivision category of architecture. Landscape architecture is designing big open outdoor spaces in urban and countryside areas like parks, sports fields, recreation areas, public areas, and public gardens. Mostly, there are no fixed boundaries when it comes to landscape architecture. The same elements can be found in landscape architecture as in garden architecture: flowers, plants, trees, pets, water elements, and materials. Another similarity is that a landscape architect or a professional garden expert, as well as someone without a degree but with knowledge of gardening, can make a design when it comes to landscape architecture. The third subdivision category is building architecture. Building architecture is about designing buildings and structures. Here you can see parts of a building. Can one part be a building? No. Building or civil engineering is a part of science dealing with constructing different parts of a building or structure and putting it together into one unit. When it comes to building architecture, we need experts like architects and civil engineers to complete the design. I think that you know what interior architecture is. Interior architecture is about designing interiors. Some of the important points which are taken in consideration when designing interiors are lighting, color, beauty, material usage, etc. Over to the last subdivision category of architecture. Urban planning is about doing research on possible and preferred developments for urban areas, designing public areas, developing rules for buildings in urban areas, developing a plan for transportation issues of people, goods, waste, energy, and water. A lot of other issues like aesthetics, history, rules and regulations, and cultural identity are important when it comes to urban planning. Urban planners have a master's degree. So, those were the 5 subdivisions of architecture. The budget of the client plays a very important role when it comes to all of these 5 subdivisions. For example, you can't build a building of $40,000 when you only can afford a building of $20,000.